Today is Friday, August 19th. We're talking about a Trump Organization executive set to testify against the company and what he just admitted to in court. Also, even with higher mortgage rates and home prices than last year, we might be on the verge of a buyer's market. We'll explain. Plus, the FDA's warning about a new product that looks like candy but is said to be dangerous. Which quarterback was just given the largest player fine in NFL history and why? And Mariah Carey might consider herself Christmas royalty, but making it official isn't that easy. We'll have those stories and a lot more ahead. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. It looks like one of the top executives from the Trump Organization is soon going to testify against the former president's family business, all because of a plea deal he made with prosecutors in his own criminal case. The company's longtime CFO, Alan Weisselberg, pleaded guilty to more than a dozen felonies this week. He admitted to taking in more than $1.7 million in perks that were off the books and were not taxed, like school tuition for his grandkids, free rent for a Manhattan apartment, and lease payments for a luxury car. Weisselberg faced several years in prison, but because of this deal he made, he got just 5 months and he could get out in 3 if he behaves. As for what he has to give in return, Weisselberg promised to testify for the prosecution when the full Trump Organization goes on trial in October. The company is accused of helping executives like Weisselberg avoid income taxes by not reporting exactly what they made. The Trump Organization says it never did anything wrong and looks forward to proving that in court. The former president himself says the only reason he's facing any legal trouble is because of politically motivated witch hunts. To be continued. Florida's new controversial police unit has announced its first arrests. And this is the only state-run election police force in the country, specifically meant to crack down on voter fraud and other election crimes. Well, this week, Florida's governor announced that it's arrested nearly 20 people. Governor Ron DeSantis says they're all convicted felons who are not eligible to vote, but that they voted in 2020 anyway. It's not clear who they voted for or what their political affiliations are. But now they each face a $5,000 fine and up to 5 years in prison. DeSantis and other Republicans say this is an example of why these kinds of police units are necessary and that more arrests are coming. On the other hand, Florida Democrats and some voting rights advocates have argued they're not needed since voter fraud is still rare. And they worry it will discourage people who do have the right to vote from doing so and getting their voices heard. Either way, it is law now. Florida's primary elections are coming up next week, and of course, the midterms are this November. Well, it looks like brain conditions are common even 2 years after getting COVID-19, at least more common than after other respiratory infections. That's according to a new large study out of the University of Oxford. Researchers looked into the risks of 14 different disorders in nearly 1.3 million people who got COVID-19 2 years ago. Then they compared the information with records from the same number of people who were impacted by other respiratory infections around the same time, but who never got COVID. Well, they found that after 2 years, there were more new cases of dementia and brain fog in adult COVID-19 patients over 65. In adult COVID patients younger than 65, just brain fog was more common. And in children, there were more cases of epilepsy, but on that one, the overall risk was still very small, like 260 cases out of every 10,000 kids who were infected. On a bright note, the research also found some disorders were actually less common after 2 years, like anxiety and depression. With those, scientists say there's an increased risk for a couple of months after getting COVID-19, but it's short-lived and not an issue in children. Also of note, this study did have some limitations, like why these COVID-19 patients got their brain conditions or what could be done to prevent or treat them. So the lead study author says it's clear more research is needed. The housing market is definitely on a downturn, which could actually be good news for homebuyers. The latest report from the National Association of Realtors found home sales fell by nearly 6% last month. And that was the 6th straight month of declines, meaning overall, sales are down 22% from this time last year. And because of this, realtors say many sellers have become more flexible on their asking price. Some are even offering to pay buyers closing costs again. Granted, it is still not exactly a buyer's market since home prices are still considered high, but they are starting to get a little lower. The same report says the median sale price for an existing home in the U.S. is down to about $404,000. That's $10,000 less than the month before and the first drop since January. So what now? Well, a senior economist at Zillow told the New York Times things will only shift more toward buyers in the future. He expects to see more big bargains in the next few months. All right, we have more news still ahead, but first, a quick break for our sponsor. You all know I love my Rothy's shoes, and maybe you've heard of the Point and the Flat styles. They're the best sellers for good reason. In fact, People magazine named the Point the best flat for the first ever Style Awards of 2021. But did you know Rothy's also makes insanely comfortable sneakers, loafers, ankle boots, and more? They do. Their wide variety of styles are great for summer and fall. And I've never worn shoes that are so comfortable right out of the box, are machine washable, last me years, and are super cute and stylish all in one. Oh, and don't forget that everything Rothy's makes is better for the planet, too. They've repurposed millions of single-use plastic bottles into their signature thread that goes into every single one of their products. Step up your shoes and accessories this summer and get ready to be asked, are those Rothy's? I get it all the time. Plus, get $20 off your first purchase at rothys.com/newsworthy. That's ROTHYS, rothys.com/newsworthy. The FDA is calling a new nicotine product a public health crisis just waiting to happen. The agency issued a first-of-its-kind warning letter to the manufacturer of unauthorized flavored nicotine gummies. The FDA says fruit-flavored gummies from VPR brands could cause nicotine poisoning and even death in small children. And the agency says the gummies are particularly dangerous because of their resemblance to kid-friendly food and candy. And they've actually become popular with teens. The FDA cited a recent study that found these candy-type products are the second most popular nicotine product for some high school students, right behind e-cigarettes. The products are labeled tobacco-free but do contain nicotine. The FDA's warning letter gives the company 15 days to respond. The quarterback for the NFL's Cleveland Browns will be sitting on the sidelines for most of the upcoming season. Deshaun Watson has been suspended for 11 regular season games, all without pay. The punishment is part of a settlement between the NFL and the league's Players Association after more than 24 women accused Watson of sexual assault or misconduct. The women are all massage therapists and say the abuse happened during massage sessions when Watson played for the Houston Texans. So we told you earlier this month he would sit out 6 games, but the NFL appealed that decision, pushing for a stricter penalty. Now this settlement means an 11-game suspension and a $5 million fine, the largest player fine in NFL history. An attorney who has represented the women says this is not nearly enough and makes it clear the NFL doesn't really care. Watson himself put out a statement through the Browns apologizing to the women impacted, but he later told reporters he'll continue to, quote, stand on his innocence. The Big Ten has scored a big TV deal. It's a 7-year media rights deal with 3 networks, Fox, CBS, and NBC. It also includes NBC's Peacock streaming network and the Big Ten network. Various reports cite sources who say the deal is worth $7.5 billion, which, if true, would be the largest broadcast deal in college sports history and would make the Big Ten the first conference to earn more than $1 billion a year for media rights. Well, this TV rights deal also ends the Big Ten's 4-decades-long relationship with ESPN. So none of the Big Ten conference games will air on that network. The Big Ten's agreements will officially begin in July of next year and run through the 2029-2030 season. New research shows more people than ever are breaking up with cable and committing to streaming services like Netflix, Disney+, Hulu, and Amazon Prime Video. For the first time, streaming viewership has overtaken cable TV. But it's still close. Media measurement firm Nielsen says in July, streaming subscribers accounted for a record 34.8% of all TV consumption that month. Cable TV came in at 34.4%. While broadcast, or channels you can get for free over public airwaves, is at a distant 21.6%. So just how much time are we spending streaming our favorite shows and movies? Nielsen says audiences watched an average of just more than 190 billion, with a B, minutes of content each week in July. That's even more than April of 2020, when, as you know, most of us were stuck at home because of the pandemic. And Netflix took up the largest chunk of TV viewing in July, getting a big boost thanks to the hit 4th season of Stranger Things. Mariah Carey's efforts to be legally declared the Queen of Christmas have landed her on the naughty list with some other famous singers. Last year, Carey filed an application to trademark the title Queen of Christmas, because of her huge 1994 hit, All I Want for Christmas Is You. Now the superstar wants to use the term to sell merchandise as well as promote music and other projects. But singers Elizabeth Chan and Darlene Love both claim they each have ties to the Queen of Christmas title. Chan releases only Christmas music every year and has even released an album called Queen of Christmas. She told Variety, quote, "Christmas is for everyone. It's meant to be shared. It's not meant to be owned." And Darlene Love, famous for her holiday classic Christmas Baby Please Come Home, sounded off in a Facebook post saying, "David Letterman officially declared me the Queen of Christmas 29 years ago. If Mariah has a problem, call David or my lawyer." So far, no response from the potential Queen of Christmas, Mariah Carey. Well, that's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Feel Good Friday, when we bring you one extra feel-good or positive news story before the weekend. But first, a quick break for our sponsor, Indeed. Business success stories start with someone who had a great idea and found great people to help them. If you're hoping to make headlines, you need to build a great team. You need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. You can find great talent faster through time-saving tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. Yep, I always appreciate when you can save hours of time and keep everything organized because everything you need is in one place. In fact, Indeed assessments alone help take the stress out of the interview process. Your candidates get to prove themselves before the interview so you can dive deeper into talking about what's really important. Start hiring now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/newsworthy. Offer good for a limited time. Claim your $75 credit now at Indeed.com/newsworthy. Indeed.com/newsworthy. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Now back to Feel Good Friday. Today's story comes from Rome, Georgia, where a group of high school football players came together, worked as a team, and pulled off a heroic victory. But it did not happen on the football field, rather on a street near their school. 6 teammates witnessed a car crash as they were showing up to school last week. A woman got hurt and ended up trapped inside her car. The boys say she couldn't get her door open and was screaming for help as smoke was coming from the hood and liquid was leaking on the ground. So they jumped into action, using their athletic strength to pry the door off the car and get her out. Within a minute, the woman was free. And the boys' kindness did not end there. They stayed by the woman and comforted her. A teacher who witnessed the dramatic rescue posted about it on Facebook, saying they went above and beyond to do the right thing. His inspiring post about the good deed now has thousands of shares. As for the woman rescued, the teens say they haven't been able to contact her since the crash, but they do hope she's doing well. We'll be back tomorrow with our special edition Saturday episode. Then join us again Monday for your next news roundup. For now, thank you so much for listening and have a great weekend.